Kurt Gowdy. Welcome to our series of American sports classics. Heavyweight championship boxing. Of all the sporting events we presented in our anthology of classics here on The Way It Was, a world's heavyweight title fight always ranks extremely high. And this is no exception. We're proud to relive the World Heavyweight Championship match between tough Tony Galento and the heavyweight champ of the world, Joe Louis. And here to help us recreate that unforgettable ring classic, from Orange, New Jersey, affectionately known as Two-Ton Tony, 29 years old, weighing 233 3/4 pounds, the challenger, Tony Galento. The champion of the world in his 7th title defense, from Detroit, Michigan, 25 years old, weighing 200 3/4 pounds, Joe Louis. And we're pleased to have with us the Hall of Fame boxing sportscaster who's called more blow-by-blow fights than anyone in history, Don Dunphy. Welcome, Don. Don, tell us the scene of boxing, the era, the way it was as Galento and Louis were ready to match up.
Well, Louis, Kurt, had won the title about 2 years earlier by knocking out Jimmy Braddock in Chicago. He had defended it successfully 6 times, the last 3 times by one-round knockouts, among them Max Schmeling. The challenger, Tony Galento, came in highly regarded, and despite the fact that the writers sometimes disparaged his skills, called him the bear barrel that walked like a man because of his 233 pounds and Two-Ton Tony and all that, nevertheless, he was the outstanding contender for the heavyweight title in 1939. He had won 8 bouts in a row, all of them by knockouts. But nobody gave him a chance, really. And you know how they have a poll of the boxing writers and broadcasters?
You and I have been quizzed in many events
ourselves. That's right. Well, in this poll, nobody picked Galento to win. A lot of them picked Louis in the first, the second, the third, maybe even by a decision, but nobody picked Galento to win. And I recall a macabre bit because Quentin Reynolds, a great columnist of the day and also a broadcaster, when asked, he actually predicted that Louis would kill Galento, and I mean dead.
The late Quentin Reynolds.
That's right.
Now, he was wrong because Galento's still alive and with us here in The Way It Was. So let's go back now to June 1939. It's Yankee Stadium, and it's an amazing heavyweight championship fight. And to tell you about it, the blow-by-blow, Don Dunphy.
The Yankee Stadium, June 28th, 1939, an unforgettable moment in U.S. sports history, the heavyweight championship of the world, as Joe Louis and Tony Galento, coming now, enter the stadium to get dressed for their memorable battle. A final checkup in the dressing room just before the fight. Dr. William Walker of the New York State Athletic Commission, Joe Louis on the left, and Tony Galento in a final friendly pose before the fight. Joe Louis in his corner, waiting for the gloves to be put on by his trainer, Jack Blackburn. And Tony Galento already has his on as Whitey Bemstein tightens them. It's round 1 for the heavyweight championship of the world. Galento, 233 3/4, Louis, 200 3/4. The referee, Arthur Donovan, Galento immediately goes to work and crowds the champion to the ropes. No punches landed there for a moment. Galento fighting out of a half crouch. Louis has had trouble sometimes with crouching fighters. Galento again forces the champion into the ropes, and no blows have been struck here in round 1 as yet. Louis short with that left hand, pecks out with it. It's a deadly jab when it lands. It's short again, and Galento in, hurts Louis with a left hook to the jaw, drives him to the ropes, staggers him, and Louis almost goes down. Louis is held against the ropes by Tony Galento as the referee, Arthur Donovan, gets them apart. Galento's had a good round so far. He paws out with that left hand. Louis backs away, gets away from a right at his head, takes the right high on the head that hurts him again. And Louis battles back with both hands to the head as Galento again crowds him to the ropes. Parted by the referee, they're out in the center of the ring again. Galento goes into a short crouch, puts a light left hand on the jaw, and another right that just grazes the chin. And again, Louis goes in and holds on. The round coming to a close now. Galento feints the left, drives the right, and then the left that go over the head of the champion. And again, the referee, Arthur Donovan, comes over, and he gets them apart. Galento out of that half crouch now, fires out a right that's short, and he's countered with a left and a right to the jaw by Louis. Punishing blows. Louis feints the left hand, ready to jab again. Galento just stands there, ready to come out with his dynamite left hook. Lewis is short with the left, takes a grazing left hand on the head by Galento. Galento drives the left hand to the body. Lewis fights back with both hands to the midsection. A short right uppercut on the jaw. A left and a right to the head as the champion suddenly comes alive. There's the bell. A dramatic and surprising first round at the Yankee Stadium.
Tony, when you stung Joe with that first punch, did you think you might get him?
I thought so, but I got fooled.
You got fooled.
Yeah, he was great heavyweight, the best.
How about it now? You had him in trouble in the first round. You let him get away?
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, that referee was hitting me from behind. It felt that way anyway.
Joe, when Tony hit you with that first punch, I mean, did you really feel it?
Well, to tell the truth, always the first punch you're trying to get in yourself. You're trying to get the first punch, but when you get hit with the first punch, then the thing goes, you know, it's just like all forgotten now. Now you're ready for the fight now. So always I'm trying to land the first punch. Always trying to land the first punch first.
You're under the pressure already. You're only 25 years old at the night of this fight.
Yeah,
and everybody expected you to come in and knock everybody out in the first or second round.
Well, to tell the truth, the Galento fight, I really didn't want to knock him out at all. What I mean, maybe past the 10th round, because he had been so bad and calling me all kind of names and everything. I really didn't want to knock him out until maybe past the 10th round.
You wanted to give him the Chinese water torture treatment.
I honest to God, I really didn't.
You mean you wanted to carry him and cut him up?
I really didn't want to knock him out.
That's not like you, Joe. I don't think he ever did that any other time.
The only time that ever happened. It's the only time I ever said it.
He did call you a bum.
Oh, he called him everything.
I called him up and told him to get in shape because I'm going to murder you, bum. And you know what he said to me? You better think right, he said to me.
In the third round when I got knocked down, I didn't want to carry it, like 10 rounds and thing. I just want to get it over with. But if I hadn't got knocked down in the third round, I think the fight would have went 10 rounds or more.
Let me ask you, you actually called him up on the telephone.
Yeah.
You called him a bum, personally.
He was up in Dr. Beard's and I was in Madame Bay's. But I made a mistake.
And you were trying to psych him out.
I made him train harder then.
Kurt, I wouldn't want anybody to get the wrong idea from what Tony just said. Madame Bay's, where you were, was a training camp, and Doc Beers was also a training camp. I just have to clarify that.
All right, that's good. Tony, most opponents in those days, Lewis now, maybe not even in his prime yet, lost the fight before they ever came out of their dressing room. They were afraid of Joe before they came out.
No,
What was your feeling?
Joe you can't put it that way. I don't put it that way. The guy was great. He beat me. When he beat me, he beat the best. Because I could lick all them bums. I knocked out Leroy Haynes, Lorenzo Pack, Otis Thomas, Ace Clark, Leonard Dixon, Cuban Bobby Brown. I licked them all. I had 69 knockouts. I had 114 fights. I was the amateur middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight champion in New Jersey. And I don't know, I was pretty good anyway. And he wasn't fighting no stiff. I just didn't get the right punches over.
Joe, what was your opinion of Galento's ability before the fight?
We know about Galento. We saw him fight Max Baer. Now, was Max Baer in the garden? He fought anything?
Max Baer, I was in no shape to fight that way. I was 32 pounds overweight.
And then I saw when he knocked out Lou Nova in Philadelphia.
223, I knocked him out and I ruined him.
Well,
There was no fight. It was a bloody fight that night.
I saw you fight quite a few fights.
Yeah, after Nova, it was a 14-round knockout. I knocked him down about 10 times, and Blake from the coast could not stop the fight unless the manager said. And that was the worst thing that ever happened because I annihilated him. And I used to, my finger got caught in his eye and said I blinded him. I didn't mean it. I apologize. Well, I didn't mean to lose his eye.
Were you a dirty fighter?
Now, wait a minute. Now, I want to correct you on that.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you. I'm not saying you were.
Newspapermen call me a dirty fighter, Kurt.
I'm asking you. I'm not saying you were. I'm just asking. You had a reputation by some of the writers, didn't
No,
they?
I was a very clean fighter. If I accidentally, I apologize if I butt you.
Yeah.
Your head run into my face. If my head run into your face, I'd apologize. I didn't mean. If I got an elbow caught in your chin, I'm sorry.
You know, I was going to ask you a question, Tony. Is it true that you wore elbow pads when you were sparring in practice so your elbows would be ready for the fight?
Well, you could call it that. I had a little bit, you know.
All right, now it's time to go back to ringside. Yankee Stadium, 1939, round 2 of this historical brawl. And here again, the voice of Don Dumpy.
Round 2 at the Yankee Stadium before a crowd of 36,000 this June night in 1939. Lewis on the right-hand side, Galento on the left as they get out there for round 2. Tony Galento had a great round in the first round, considering that most people figured he'd get knocked out there, and he had the champion in trouble. Both men go cautious for a moment as round 2 gets underway. Lewis just sticking that left hand out there, not really trying to land it, takes another left hook to the jaw as Galento crowds him to the ropes. Galento off balance, but Lewis doesn't hit him. Lewis misses the right over the head. Galento was wild with a right hand thrown from the floor. Lewis short with a left jab. At long range again. Galento is fighting upright now. He does better out of a crouch. Now he drops a little bit. He's short with the left hand, is countered by a left hook on the jaw by the champion. The great Joe Louis pounds a right to the body, hooks a solid left to the jaw, jabs a left that's just short of the mark, pounds both hands to the body of Galento, and Galento is being raked for the first time in the fight. Two-Ton Tony has never been off his feet in a prize fight. He takes a solid jab on the chin, and a left, and then a short right to the jaw by Louis. And Galento is being cut down to size. He outweighs the champion by 33 pounds. Galento is short with the left, is raked by another right hand to the body by the champion. Lewis feints the left hand, feints another, gets away from the left, thrown out by Galento. Galento way down deep in the crouch, takes a solid right hand on the jaw that turns him around, and then misses the right over the head. And the champion is having a great round 2. They go into a clinch, and the referee, Arthur Donovan, has them apart. Galento, the challenger, not doing nearly as well here in round 2 as he did in round 1. Lewis pecks out that left, tries to measure him, does, crashes on the right, and Galento is down from that left hook on the jaw, and he bounces up without a count. The first time Galento has ever been off his feet in a prize fight. Galento takes a left hook, a right to the jaw. He's starting to bleed around the mouth. Another right high on the head by Lewis. Lewis is having a great round here in round 2. Again, they're in a clinch. Now we're ready for round 3 for the heavyweight championship of the world. Galento on the left, Lewis was on the right. Out in the center of the ring they go. Galento took an awful battering in round 2, although he won round 1 of this heavyweight championship bout. Now Lewis is starting to measure his man and find him with that left jab, which was short earlier in the bout. 2 hard ones so far here in round 3. Galento going out of the half crouch, takes a light jab on the nose, misses the left hand over the head of Lewis. Lewis calmly measures his man, jab that left on the chin. Lewis watches Galento start to come in on him. Then Galento backs away a little bit. Lewis trying to measure his man on the ropes, connects with a left hook to the jaw as Galento comes in on him, and Galento forces Lewis against the ropes, where the referee gets them apart. Round 3 for the heavyweight championship of the world at the Yankee Stadium, June 1939. Lewis again short with a pecking left hand. Galento into the light left hook to the jaw of Lewis, and Lewis holds on as Galento forces him against the ropes over in Tony's corner. Out in the center of the ring again. Galento keeps moving his hands up and down in front of his face, short with the left lead at the head. Lewis ready to measure his man again, his left down low, his right ready to come in and counter. Lewis a light jab on the chin of Galento. Galento scores with a light left hook on the jaw, a short right uppercut on the chin. One of the few right hands that Galento has landed so far in the fight. Out in the center of the ring they go. Lewis is dropped by a left hand to the jaw by Galento. The champion was down. A hard left hook on the chin caught Lewis on the way in, and the champion was down. They've both been down once in this fight so far. Let's see if Galento can follow up his advantage, but Tony's face is well marked. He's taken a beating. Lewis misses a right hand at the jaw as they go into a clinch, and again the referee has them apart. Lewis bouncing around a little bit now, takes the left high on the head. Galento trying to follow up his advantage, but he's wild with 3 lefts fired at the head, and Lewis again holds on. Parted by the referee in a neutral corner. Galento backs to the center of the ring. Lewis is coming after him. Now Lewis moves forward. Picks out with a left hand that's short of the mark. Galento bangs his gloves together, ready to nail Lewis with that left hook if he can. There's about a minute to go in this round, and Lewis counters with a right hand to the jaw as Galento misses another left hook. Tony, after the knockdown, has been very wild. He runs into another left hook on the jaw by Lewis. It's round 3 for the heavyweight championship of the world, and not many thought it would go this far. Galento misses the left hand at the jaw, and again the champion goes in and holds on as Galento forces him to the ropes. Two-Ton Tony at 233 3/4 is a very strong young man. He's got his arm around Lewis's neck and tries the right hand on the head. But surprisingly, it has been a clean fight. Yankee Stadium, the scene of this heavyweight championship battle. Lewis ready to go to work again. Here's Galento, his mouth wide open. He seems to have trouble breathing right now. Gets away from the left, thrown at his nose by the champion. Galento, a left hand high on the head again, and Lewis makes him miss a left, and again they go to close quarters and hold on. The round is coming to a close now. Lewis moving out after Galento, gets away from that left hook. Two-ton Tony the aggressor. And that's the end of round 3 in an exciting and unexpectedly thrilling battle for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Tony, were you following instructions from your corner when you came out for round 2?
No, I'm in that ring. I do all my own instruction. The guy in the corner don't mean nothing. He's not getting hit. I'm getting hit.
So you planned your own strategy.
My own strategy. How many fights did he have? Strategy.
Not too many, I don't
Tony,
believe.
I want to ask you a question. How come you didn't have much of a right hand?
Well, you saw right hand, you're off balance. That's how he knocked me down. I threw the right hand, he knocked me on my backside. And believe me, I was never knocked down. I did go out the ring one time. I dove at a guy to hit him, and I went right out in the audience. I got back, and I knocked him out after that, but out of the ring I went. I missed the guy.
Sorry, Tony.
What?
Joe, you wanted this to go 10 rounds, you said, but when you knocked him down, were you hoping he'd get up?
He wanted to cut me up.
Yes.
You're hoping he'd get up?
I really did.
Did you feel that way about other fighters you fought?
Never did. He's the only one that made me so mad that, you know, I really was. Everything he had called me during the training period for the fight.
He really put the needle in.
Yeah, he really did.
Joe,
Really
I remember one day in the training camp, you just shook your head and you said, "Why that little fat man calls me a bum?"
Yeah, he said, "Someday I think I'm a bum." But he does, you know, he does call me everything.
I don't understand. Let's get back to that strategy guy you're talking about. Why would you needle him so much? Why did you get him so mad that he wanted to carry you 10 rounds?
That was my mistake.
It was a mistake, huh?
My mistake, because he might have carried me cheap like he carried Billy Kahn and Schmeling the first time. The next time out, he knocked Schmeling out in 1 round. It proved that he wasn't in proper shape with them guys.
Tony, let's go back to round 3 when you decked Joe. And take a look at it again now in a replay and tell us the way it was. Here it is. What are you trying to set up now, Tony?
I'm trying to hit him with a punch with a left hook so I could knock him out, but I got fooled.
There. You got him. Do you think you had him with that punch?
I thought he was hurt. But he wasn't hurt. He was up almost right away.
He bounced right up at the count of 1.
He bounced right up.
Joe, were you hurt?
No, I wasn't hurt at all. I was more off balance than anything.
Yeah, so he really didn't hit you that hard. All right, now let's go back for round 4 of this heavyweight classic between Galento and Lewis, and again, Don Dunphy.
Round 4, Lewis the champion, Galento the challenger. Lewis gets out there quickly. He's got Galento in trouble, even though Tony had him down in the last round. Galento's face is well marked, well battered by the champion. Joe Lewis gets away from a left hand, gets away from another. Galento has no respect for Lewis, apparently. He comes in at him again and again, trying for a knockout. Lewis bounces around the center of the ring. Arthur Donovan is the referee. Lewis feinting the left hand, feinting it again. Again, Galento comes in wild with that left hand. Lewis grabs him and holds him as Galento forces him into the ropes. Out in the center they go again. Lewis up on his toes a little more now. Now he goes flat-footed to get that power in his punches. Lewis meets Galento on the way in with a sharp jab on the nose, and Galento is wild with the left, but he brings in a short right uppercut to the jaw of the champion. Galento feints the left hand, goes into a crouch again, away from a jab, away from another, but he takes a solid right hand to the jaw by Lewis. It's a question of how much of this battering Galento can take now. He's hooked with the left to the jaw by the champion. Galento gets away from a left, gets away from another. Galento is backing up. One of the few times he's backed up tonight. A left hook to the jaw by the champion, a short right uppercut on the chin by Lewis. Galento backs away up on his toes, takes a solid right hand to the jaw, a left that winds around his neck on the inside. Galento scores with a left hook on the jaw. Referee Arthur Donovan has them apart again. Lewis feints the left hand. Galento moves away from a left that goes over his head. Lewis short with a lead. Takes a light left on the chin by Galento. Again, they go to close quarters and are parted by the referee. Galento is tiring now. Lewis at full strength. Lewis short with a jab. Lewis feints the left hand, brings in a short right uppercut to the jaw, and blocks the left hand at his head by Galento. They're in a clinch in dead center of the ring. You can see how marked Galento's face is now as Galento hooks the left hand on the jaw. Galento wild with the left over the head, countered with a left hook to the jaw. Lewis is measuring his man, crashes a solid right hand to the jaw. Galento is staggered. He takes the left hook. He takes a short right uppercut. It's near the end now, I think. Galento fires back with the right. It's met with a left and a right to the jaw. A fusillade of punches by the champion. You can't keep up with them. Another left hook, and the referee goes over and gets them apart. I don't know what's keeping Galento on his feet. Lewis comes at him again. Galento is staggered again by a right, then a left, a right uppercut, a left hook to the jaw. With time against Galento as he staggers into the ropes. He almost goes down. The referee holds on to him, and that is the end.
The time, 2 minutes, 29 seconds of the fourth round. The winner and still world heavyweight champion, Joe Louis.
Thank you, Harry Ballo. Here at Yankee Stadium, Joe Louis has successfully defended his title for the 7th time with his 6th consecutive knockout. After dressing, Louis paid Galento this tribute.
Well, Galento, I think he's just as tough as anybody ever fought. I think he's good in game, very tough. Take a punch at the best of anybody I think I ever hit.
Champ, tell us about the knockdown in the 3rd round.
Well, it wasn't a sort of a slippery. I thought it was a sort of a mistake on my part. I was stepping in for him with a left hook when he caught me with a left hook. I think I lost balance when he knocked me down.
Joe Louis, age 25, heavyweight champion of the world, and already a legend in his time.
Joe, I want to ask you something. You were very personally unhappy with Galento before the fight. You wanted to cut him up. You wanted to carry him 10 rounds. Yet after the fight, you paid him a tribute. You said he was the toughest man you'd ever fought.
Yeah, he was. He was a tough fight. He's taking good punches. And but me and Galento been good friends of a long time.
He should be honored by all people. He was a great fighter, the greatest, one of the greatest.
Well, I think he has been honored.
I rate him like, I think Gene, Tony, and Dempsey were good, but he was better because I don't think Dempsey fought a lot of big apes that I could lick easy. Guys like Jess Woolard. I could knock out every big guy, 6'11", 6'10", 6'9". Leonard Dixon, 6'9". Oh, I knocked them all out. They were easy because they're targets. But him, he kept that jab and he put sharp puncher, and I tell you the truth, I thought he had a razor in them gloves.
Now, let's talk about that. Now, let's take Joe Louis back with us to the 4th round.
Yeah.
A 25-year-old Joe Louis. And have Joe describe, we really see him here, the greatness of him, the left, the right, the quickness as he works you over in his 4th round.
Well, I think the 4th round actually came from the 3rd round. I was knocked down the 3rd round. I think that...
You're mad.
Yeah, the 4th round was woke me up and made me forget about what I wanted to do. So I just went ahead and fought a little harder and told.
How good were you at this age, Joe? Were you better later on? Or is this your prime right now, 25, or were you better when you're 28, 29?
I think between 25 and 26, yeah.
Yeah, this is right when you're right at your peak. Look at this. How are you feeling about now, Tony? Being hit like
Very bad
this.
to see that.
It's still, this is 1939. You can still feel it, I'll bet. Oh, there's a...
Don't think Louis was fighting a bum. I licked a lot of men that quicker than him, like Nathan Mann. 2 rounds.
He
Russia,
said
1
you were
round. Red Barry, 1 round.
He said you were a great fighter.
I know. He respected me. Don't worry about that.
You know, Kurt,
Now I respect him, too.
a lot of people have the wrong impression. They remember Lewis's famous Bum of the Month campaign, and they put Tony in there, which is not fair because these other fellows were, in the term of the ring, bums, you know, but Tony was an outstanding challenger. The Bum of the Month campaign actually came in late 1940 and early 41. This was in 1939 before Joe started that.
Mm-hmm.
See, the Bum of the Month tour that I had, I wouldn't let the promoter charge like $100, $40, $50 for ringside seats. I said, no, you know, that's too much, you know. So I used to, for my championship fight, I must get somebody get $30,000 for fighting for a championship fight, or maybe $25,000. You know, you just wouldn't let them
You
charge
believed
them.
in defending your title.
I believed in fighting. I believed in fighting.
Go out and defend it, the champ should
right.
defend it, give everybody a shot at it.
Right, I believed in that.
And that's why everybody's always loved you.
But
Don and I were talking, and I said, who are the two greatest sports figures of all time in America? And I don't think you get much argument, Don. And Tony, I'd like to get your thoughts. Babe Ruth and Joe Louis, the two most famous sports figures. You might have other people might
Babe Ruth was a great guy.
Yeah.
But the Babe and Joe are legends of American sports.
That's right.
baseball, I think Joe DiMaggio would be my choice.
Who? Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
You were a great baseball fan. Yeah. You had 23 stitches after this fight in your face, didn't you?
More than that.
Did you?
I look like a piece of raw meat.
I think they put in 40 stitches in him.
40 stitches in it.
A lot here, up in here. The Monster solution blinded me, and I thought I was getting hit from all angles. That's why I thought the referee was hitting me.
If you had to do it all over again, would you fight him any differently?
Well, no, I'd do the same way, maybe. It's a funny thing when you get to that bridge, you cross it.
Well, we want to thank Tony Galento and Joe Louis and Don Dumpty for being with us on The Way It Was. And so, tough Tony Galento proved himself gallant, proud in defeat. He'd retired to his tavern in Orange, New Jersey a few years later, 1944. But he would always be remembered, and he could remember himself how close he came to scoring a great upset in ring history. For Joe Louis, this was the 7th in a string of 25 unequaled title defenses. He would retire in 1949, in the opinion of most people, the greatest heavyweight champ of all time. And as I've always said about Joe, truly a credit to the human race. This is Kurt Gowdy saying, that's the way it was when Joe Louis defended his title against Tony Galento in the 1939 heavyweight title fight.
Shock boxing observers in Baltimore.